Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim, and we of course talk about horror movies on this show. First of all, apologies, this episode is very late this week. Typically we're midweek, but schedules and stuff and Netflix shows and various other things all kind of delayed us. So we're very near the end of the week, but not to worry, we're here now. And it does mean that there'll be a really short gap between this episode and the next one, which will be midweek again, so that's fun. But yeah, what we're going to talk about today, we thought we'd tackle a classic, if you will. Well, cult classics, maybe more of an accurate term. One that I had never seen before. Tim, you had seen this, but only just recently.
Yeah, actually had my former roommate, Todd, who's a big horror fan. I think I mentioned him on the show before, but he had wanted me to watch this for a while. And I was kind of hesitant at first, just from the cover art to the box, because it gave me kind of a feeling of like almost kind of like street trash, where it's like I feel like this is the kind of movie that I'm not going to feel good afterwards.
Yeah, well, speaking of, right now is the perfect time for a link to street trash in the corner. That'll pop up right about now. We did that during October for our October-thon, where we did like 50 movies. Well, no, it wasn't that much. It was like 20. But we did a lot of movies for October because it's Halloween month.
But it's definitely not as gross as that. There is a spectacular, I don't know if I'd say gross, but kind of weird, icky scene towards the end, which is glorious. But yeah, I actually really, really like this. And I had finally watched it because it was on Shudder for the first time a couple of months ago. And I don't know if you do the same thing, but when I'm watching movies not for the show, like if it's a good movie, I'm like, oh, this might be interesting, you know, to bring up on the show when we have a free week. Or if it's really bad, I might think, oh, this might be a really fun, thing to crap on. But
I'm kind of the opposite. I'm kind of like, I almost watch something and go, oh no, I shouldn't, because if it might be good for the show, and
oh yeah,
and I put off watching things because of that sometimes, and I shouldn't, but I do.
Yeah. But then there are movies like this where I watch it and by the end I'm just like, holy crap, this is so wonderful and bizarre. I really want to talk about it. So it's one of those ones that gets put to the forefront of the list.
Well, we're talking about Society, which is a film from 1989 directed by Brian Yuzna, or is it Yunza? Where does the Z go? Yuzna, yeah, Brian Yuzna. It's directed by him, and it's a movie about a teenage guy named Billy who is convinced there's something weird going on with his family, his parents and his sister, and it's essentially a conspiracy movie where he thinks people are in things, and he's trying to like deduct what's going on, and kind of weird things happen throughout the movie until the reveal towards the end of what actually is going on, and it's kind of bonkers.
Yeah. I don't know if this is an actual genre, but if I had to label it, I would say 80s suburban paranoia horror.
No, that's not an actual genre. I get where you're coming from. But then technically you could file The Burbs under that, and I don't feel like this and The Burbs belong in the same category.
You know, that wouldn't be a bad double feature though. That would be a good like Saturday afternoon for me.
I feel like you'd have to put The Burbs second, just because that's the lighter one where you'll feel better about yourself afterwards.
It's a nice palate cleanser. Yeah.
But so we're going to talk about this. Will we do spoilers free section? I don't know if we will. Let's just get into it. I think we'll. Okay. We'll maybe do like a quick spoiler free, just a sort of general thoughts about how much we liked it, and then we'll go into spoilers. So
I'll start because I haven't really been too secretive about it, but I absolutely loved this movie. It's an 80s movie, so it has that like old school 80s charm. It can be a little cheesy at times, but I thought it was really fun. There's a really weird mystery going on. You're not really sure what it is at first, and then it gets weirder and weirder as it goes along, and I think the ending is just explosive. In terms of Crazy Town. And
it's pretty out there. Yes, I will concur. I'm not as into it as you are. Because you're using words like love. I would not go as far as love. I liked it a fair bit. I don't know if it's one that I will necessarily return to. And honestly, there's a lot of the stuff I liked about it. It's probably similar to what you liked it in terms of the 80s stuff, and I kind of like the kind of cheesiness of it. I'm not sure how I feel about the ending though. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Well, let me ask you: do you at least admire like the special effects aspect of it?
Oh yeah, the practical effects that were involved, I appreciate what went into it. I just don't know if it's actually a good ending for the movie though.
I would say personally, I mean, I think maybe for me, I tend to like stuff that's a little weirder or more out there. So for me, it was definitely right up my alley. I can see it is a huge like shift in the movie. Well, maybe not huge because there are like little hints leading up to it, but
I do think it does feel a little bit out of left field, just in the sense that they don't really explain like anything about it. It just kind of is, and it just that, which I applaud the audacity of that. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a certain charm to not feeling you have to go into it. But when the movie, it was weird. It was almost like the movie ends and it's kind of like a wink, wink. Yeah, we're just having fun. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Go away now. Kind of attitude, and I don't know if I was expecting an ending like that, given everything that was going on. But anyway, so I would definitely recommend people who like horror movies and stuff to see it, because it's definitely a unique experience. I don't know how much I like it though, but that's not to say that I disliked it. I'm conflicted.
It's not an instant classic for you. You don't feel the need to buy the special edition Blu-ray and watch it once every year. I get that.
Yeah.
Like this is something I would definitely watch again. I mean, I've watched it twice this year so far, but I'm not like I mean, if we weren't doing it for the show, I probably wouldn't have watched it again. But it's not something I'll probably like come back to every year. But occasionally, it's not something I wouldn't mind watching again, or especially if someone hasn't seen it before. It might be a good movie. Like, hey, let's sit down and watch it.
Yeah. All right. Let's get some spoilers in. So from this point on, spoilers for Society. So the movie follows Billy, who is this teenager, Beverly Hills. He's a rich kid from a rich family, but he's seen a therapist, because teenagers see therapists when you're rich, I guess. And he keeps
got
having
a lot of problems.
Well, he's going to have a few. I'm pretty sure of it. But he's having nightmares. He suspects something weird's going on with his sister and his parents, and that's kind of the main thing throughout the movie, is that he keeps noticing weird things about his sister. And his sister is being inducted into society, which includes a ceremony called a coming out party, and that's kind of the main sort of backbone of the movie, is him being concerned about this. And it's when someone who's kind of stalking his sister it bugged her so that he could hear what was going on, heard some of the stuff, and he actually comes to Billy and lets him hear the recording of them talking about what at least sounds like, at this point in the movie, like some sort of weird sex cult, where not only does she have sex with tons of people in a room, she has sex with her parents. And this obviously concerns Billy, and leads to a lot of things. But there's a lot of very little incestuous, weird things going on. Like, there's a scene where he goes into the bathroom to get the suntan lotion, and his sister's in the shower behind the frosted glass, and it looks like she's like her top half of her body's spun round, because her ass and her boobs are both facing out the same way. And of course Billy like opens the shower, because that's even if you think something's weird, it's not like, I mean, it'd be one thing if she was like on the ground and she might be in pain, she might be in trouble, you need to get in because she might die if you don't, like something like that, then fine. But she's still standing up showering. Like, there's just, so he opens the door, and of course she's just like, Billy, what are you doing? Get out of here. He's like, sorry, I was just here for the suntan lotion. Then why did you open the shower door? Come on, use your brain, Billy, use your brain.
Really wanted to see a front butt.
Yeah, a front bum. Well, a front bum's just a JJ, isn't it?
sure.
But yeah, so he gets this recording and he goes to his therapist and he's like, hey, I need to talk to you, there's this. And his therapist is clearly in on it because he comes back the next day and his therapist has swapped out the tape with a new recording that's normal. It just sounds like what it should sound like. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing. It's basically a conspiracy movie where he keeps just like getting more clues and weird things happen around him. The police officer tells him to get away the crime scene because the guy who was bugging the sister mysteriously dies when Billy goes to try and get another copy of the recording and so on, and just weird things keep piling up. But meanwhile, he's into this girl who's not his girlfriend. He's into this girl named Clarissa, who is mysterious and kind of a vixen and does the whole Basic Instinct thing where she opens her legs, because he's doing a he's supposed to be in high school. He doesn't really feel like he's in high school because they're all like 20-somethings. They all drive their own cars. They all go out drinking and partying and stuff. Which, don't get me wrong, teenagers do that kind of thing, but not to the not to this sort of free extent that the characters in this are doing. You wouldn't think for a second they were in high school if it wasn't for the fact that there was some scenes of him doing a presidential debate for student president, where he seems to be quite popular, but he's giving this speech, and this Clarissa's like flashing parts of her at him, and then he runs into her at a party later on. It's basically just weird stuff keeps happening, and he keeps going down this rabbit hole where he thinks he's found a dead body, and then the kid who was supposed to be dead, who was the nerd in the presidential debate, shows up at school, and so on and so forth.
I like these kind of movies where it seems like everything is out to make the main character seem like he's crazy, and it gets kind of frustrating because as we're following him along, we know that something's off. Like I like all these little hints throughout it that you keep seeing like something is really like messed up here. Like talking about the sister, you see like something's really weird is going on, and then the tape it just
it's her mannerisms, it's the parents' mannerisms, it's the way they're talking to each other, it's the way they're carrying themselves. The way the parents don't seem to like him very much is kind of odd. But there's a lot of weird sexual imagery throughout the movie as well. Like when he goes to the beach with the said suntan lotion that he got from the bathroom, these kids, which by the way I thought was a really funny scene, because so him and his girlfriend are on a towel on the beach, and we just see these kids in the background like crawling along like they're in the army, like soldiers like creeping up to like an army base or something, and then they sneak in and grab the lotion and they spray it over his girlfriend's face, over Shauna's face, and it was a very sexual image. It's this white liquid going all over her face, and then
she even screams like, "Oh, I got in my hair."
Yeah, and then he chases after the kids, and the kids get away, but they drop the suntan lotion, and then of course Clarissa, who's this vixen character who is there, like picks it up and like sprays it in his face, which is subversion of like erotic imagery, I guess, is what that's supposed to be.
And there's also this kind of theme of like I mean, it's right in the title, but like of society, and there's a sense of wanting to kind of climb that ladder to be in part of high society. Like his girlfriend keeps bugging him, like we have to get get invited to the popular party, and hey, there's Ted Ferguson over there, like go talk to him and get invited to his party, and he kind of has this pressure.
By the way, he's a complete douchebag. He actually does end up going to that party, and he runs into Clarissa. This is after he kind of broke up with his girlfriend because she got pissed that he wouldn't like get to the parties with her. And that's when they kind of meet properly, and they kind of get properly flirtatious, and they end up going back to her place and having sex.
This is another cool scene, like the sister, where something weird is kind of happening with her body.
Oh yeah. Basically, they're having sex, and her hand comes up around the wrong side, and it's as if she's got an extra hand. And he's like, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" And he like dives out the bed, and he looks up at her, and it's like again, like the sister, like her, she's spun at the midsection of her body, for a split second, and then he like sort of like looks again, and she's back to normal. But because we've already seen it with the sister, we're like, "Oh wait a minute, this is something," right? Yeah. There's also a lot of like you see them with slugs throughout the movie. Like there's something to do with slugs going on. Turns out that's what they eat, but that's going on through the movie. Here's the thing though. So when everything happens and it comes to a head, and he eventually goes home at the end of the movie, and like all these people, including the judge that we've been seeing, including the therapist, everyone are all there, and they're all dressed in tuxes, and it's like, oh, it's time, and they get them in like the neck tie thing, the noose.
Mm-hmm.
When they get to that point in the movie, so she actually tries to warn him because she actually develops feelings for him and doesn't want him to be included in what this is. Yeah, shunted is the word that keep using. Yeah. And she ends up showing up and trying to save him, along with his buddy Milo, who he's kind of been a dick to and ignored, but he tries to help anyway. But she, like, so let's just talk about the end of the movie, because I need to talk about what this is, so I can talk about what I was wanting to talk about. Yeah, so
it's a big important part of this. Like, I like the movie as a whole is really good, but the ending to me is kind of what brings it to another level, and I think that's what most people would talk about when talking about this movie.
Yeah, last 25-30 minutes. So society is like a group, but it's a group of apparently another species. It's a group of people who they specify they're not aliens or anything like that, but they don't actually explain what they actually are. But they seem, it's all very like flesh molding. So you think at first you think I'm just going to eat them, because they have the other guy who we thought was dead earlier on in the movie was actually alive, and we kind of had a hint of that because at the funeral his face kind of caved in as if, and they thought, oh, maybe that's just the reconstructive surgery not being good or whatever. But so you see them consume him, but they do it in this weird way where their skin sort of melds with his skin, and they all connect, and they suck his life force out from within, and it's icky and disgusting, and it's this great big makeup prosthetic effect, to the point where the judge guy, who's always smoking a cigar, puts his hand right up the kid's body, and it comes out of his mouth, and you see that the head all kind of like fall down, and it's super gross. At this point in the lighting in the movie all turns kind of reddish, and everyone's all like wet as if they've got like goo all over them. It's quite disgusting. It pushes you off your dinner, quite frankly. You're not in the mood for any food after this.
This is not the movie you want to be. Yeah, you don't want to be snacking.
Not at this point.
By the end of this,
the first hour, sure, whatever, but this last half an hour, no way. But yeah, so Clarissa actually tries to help and save him, and she does kind of do that at one point, and he ends up running around, and he sees like his parents all mutated, and like his dad's got his face coming out of his ass. His mum and his sister have kind of merged in a weird way as well. This is like something they do. This is their thing, and it all comes to a head when to beat the judge, who's the leader of this group. He shoves Billy shoves his hand up in front of him and pulls him inside out.
Oh. Yeah.
Just let's not gloss over that. He pulls him inside out, and we see lots of these slugs and stuff inside, like an inside of his skin, because that's what he's like. And the whole thing's very, because they mention that he's not really their son and that he's like adopted or whatever, and they mention, oh yeah, the rich have always fed on the poor, and that's kind of what this is. It's kind of like an extreme version of this is the rich literally sucking the life out of the poor for their own
very
wealth.
Not subtle metaphor.
There is nothing remotely subtle about this, to the point where, you know, Ted Ferguson's, he's like offered, oh, you're the young kid who's up and coming, I've got a position for you in Washington at the end of summer, you know, you got a new cushy job, and he obviously gets killed, and the old guy just turns and goes, well, looks like I've got an opening in Washington to someone else, as if, do you want it? But so Clarissa apparently is falling in love with them, like full on. She actually cares about him, and she runs off with them. And at the end, them two and Milo get out, and they run away, and that's kind of the end of the movie. Apart from one little last joke from the villains, but they get to his car and they're going to go on the run, and that's them happy ever after. And I'm like, but wait a minute, she's still one of these things. Is he going to be dating this weird mutated person that's got bugs inside of her?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe if she can control it, and like if it's something that they don't have to do. I mean, it's definitely messed up if they're on the run and she's like, oh, by the way, I need to eat a person real quick.
Sure, I'm probably just overthinking it too much. It felt weird to me that like, oh, so there's gonna be happily ever after and stuff. Like, now that he knows that she can do this, like, what if like they're having sex again? She accidentally like, oh, sorry, my foot moved up like to my arm. Sorry, I'll move it back down. Like, just, I don't know, it's a little weird.
Some people might be into that.
And are they going to try? Are they going to try and like expose this? Are they going to try and tell people about it? And I don't know. It ended in a really sort of quick, abrupt place. I think a little bit for me.
I wonder if there was any plans to do a sequel or anything, because you could certainly explore stuff. Like if they are gonna try to expose something, or if they go to another big city, like hey, maybe sequel they go to Washington or something.
Yeah, maybe
that could be interesting.
No, why not? I don't think it's a big deal. I think I'm maybe thinking about it too much. When I think the intent here is that it doesn't matter. It's the whole point is that he's got free, and it was making like a social commentary, if you will.
Yeah, the movie is about society, not about Billy.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I'm just overthinking it, and it's not actually that big a deal. It was just something like, because it was in like a typical sort of 80s movie where a couple of characters get away, I was just kind of thinking about it, and it was kind of weird. So
I think it's a little overthinking, but it's also a fair point. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you that it is does leave those questions open.
Yeah, there's also a weird kind of subplot with Clarissa's mum, who's presumably one of these people who keeps coughing up hair. She doesn't talk, and she seems to only like the hair. She likes to eat hair, because she keeps going for Milo's hair when like they're working together to try and find the house, and she keeps reaching for it. He's like, no, not the hair, stay away from me.
It's like she's one of them, but there's also something off about her. Like and I feel like they're like, well,
she's like a vegan
in our society
version of them. Because you can eat someone's hair and it wouldn't really harm them. The hair will grow back. And
see, I also just kind of thought though that she was like, I don't know, there's something off about her, like, because she never really speaks. Like I don't want to say necessarily dumb or something, but I don't know, there was something about her that seemed maybe not as intelligent as the other people.
Oh yeah, she was definitely mute. If nothing else, she was mute the whole time. Yeah. So I mean, it's all kind of about the ending. It's all about the absurdity of the ending when they get in the room and they all start merging together, and it's like everyone's slimy and it's kind of gross. And I think for me, the reason why I'm maybe not into it as much as you is I like weird, but I don't know if I necessarily like gross weird.
Yeah, it is certainly gross.
This is like a very Cronenberg-esque kind of...
Yeah. Oh, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, so it's very Cronenberg, the way they all kind of merge, and it's disgusting, and like... I appreciate the prosthetic effects, especially when it was like a head caving in or something like that, but the whole thing is just kind of disgusting, and I was just kind of watching like, yeah, I appreciate this, but I don't know, I'm kind of ecked out by this, and I'm not usually... You can throw blood at me, you can throw gore, you can throw brains at me. This was just... Ugh.
Yeah, I kind of like though that it does unsettle you, because again, like, I think like that's kind of the point. And
of course, but I'm so used to most horror movies and what they would do to try and do that that it's weird that it has done it. Like I don't know, but like I think it works as an outrageous ending. I think I don't know. You watched it a second time. I don't know how it played the second time for you, but I don't know if like a second viewing I would enjoy the movie too much because I know where it's going the entire time, which obviously isn't always a problem with films. But I think in this case for me it might be.
You definitely do lose a little bit of the mystery the second time, which which is a shame, but it didn't really hamper my enjoyment too much. I still had a lot of fun.
Yeah, the movie's got its fans. It's definitely got a cult following. I've seen people like talk about it before, and like people were excited when it was coming out in Blu-ray and stuff, and I mean that's cool. And there's a lot of stuff I liked about it. Mainly the characters and the setting and the kind of the. I mean, I think Billy, who plays Billy, nice and easy to remember that. I think he's a pretty.
By the way, like the actor, the actor's full name, Billy Warlock, I think is just such a good horror actor name.
Yeah, has he ever done much else? I'm going to check. I'm going to check. What has Billy Warlock done? Oh, he was in Baywatch.
Also, oh,
yeah, he was in Baywatch.
I can't really leave the beach.
Yeah, he's on the beach again. He liked that. He liked filming that scene in the beach so much that he went and starred in Baywatch. Yeah, he was in 45 episodes, so it was the last couple of seasons.
Not too bad.
He's been in a lot of TV shows. I don't think he ever did a. Oh, he was in Halloween 2.
Oh, interesting.
He was in Halloween 2.
I can't put my finger on it. I'd have to go back. Assuming
is he
someone at the hospital.
Yeah, he must be the main guy who works at the hospital. The one who's like helping Laurie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, I've seen Bill Warlock in 2 movies. Look at that. Oh,
And Pete, have we ever talked about Baywatch Nights before?
no, I don't think the situations ever came up that we could have talked about Baywatch Nights.
But have you ever heard of it?
I am familiar with what Baywatch Nights is, yes. It was the Baywatch spin-off with David Hasselhoff, where he became like a supernatural detective.
You know what? I've actually never seen an episode, but it sounds phenomenal. That might be the show we do after Tales from the Crypt.
We could do Baywatch Nights. That's such an absurd concept.
I feel like we'd
to
have
me.
the market cornered on that.
Yeah. It's such an absurd concept to me because it's like it would be like I don't know, what's that movie? It'd be like taking the West Wing, right, and doing a spin-off of the West Wing where one of the characters was suddenly like
A vampire hunter.
Yeah, a vampire or tracking down serial killers. Even like it'd just be something so different. Like, well, how is this a plan? I don't understand it.
It's really weird.
It's really weird. It's one of those oddities of 90s TV that just waiting to be discovered. Oh dear. Yeah, so Sai's not bad. Fun practical effects, I think, is the main thing I would take away. I like the mystery. I like the 80s setting. I like the characters and the cast that play most of the characters. Actually, I think most of them have got their sort of your typical 80s stereotypes, but they're kind of fun and play off each other well. Yeah, no, I think it's a fun movie. I think for me, it just like I'm not sure how I feel about the final 20 minutes. Like, is it just overindulgent a little bit much or kind of thing? I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it, but I certainly wouldn't dissuade anyone from seeing it. I think it's worth a watch at least once to get the experience and have your own opinion on it. It's a weird one, certainly.
Certainly.
Any other scenes or anything like that you want to talk about?
I mean, we covered all the major ones. Just going back, though, I did like the father as the giant ass, and then of course it's a nice little callback because he called him like a butthead earlier in the movie.
Yeah, he calls him again at the end when he's walking out as well.
Yeah.
But really, that's your closing like one-liner as you leave the house. Call him a butthead. Yeah. Very good, Billy.
We didn't really mention it before, but there's also like a little ongoing plot of people leaving like weird, creepy stuff in his like locker in his car and stuff. Like he gets a naked Ken doll.
Yeah, that's right.
A blow-up doll.
Yeah, that was just his friend messing with him. Yeah, that was just Milo doing Milo pranks. Yeah, it didn't really amount to much. I guess that's why I'd kind of forgotten about it until you said it.
I like that there's like almost this game that society is playing with them where it's not just, hey, let's eat him. They could have just come home one night and shunted him. But I like that it's almost like a weird, sick, twisted game that they want to play on him. Because
they say to him when they're starting the whole thing, they say to him, you were very entertaining. They say that, and it's like, oh, we enjoy the hunt. If you put on a show, kind of thing. Like, they seem to enjoy like messing with the people before they do it, which is interesting. But yeah, it's kind of weird though, because it's almost just a weird justification for why the movie's a conspiracy story. Because you could almost have it not be. You could almost just have it be everything's normal. He comes home one night and you're gonna get eaten.
Yeah,
it could play like that. Which that's not a criticism. It's just like that's why it's there. That's why there is this weird like sort of building of suspense throughout the movie. As the weird stuff's getting weirder and weirder. Yeah, I think Milo's quite smart because Milo points out because they do this whole thing where they drug him and it looks like they take him to the hospital. Oh, they do take him to the hospital.
Oh, right,
but when Milo follows a car and he goes inside and asks where he is, the woman at the hospital says that he's deceased. The guy, he checked the morgue, but then obviously Billy's okay, and Miles like, wait a minute, I think they're setting you up. As far as the system's concerned, you're dead. So like this is a setup. So Milo's quite smart. Milo's like, yeah, don't go back there. That's stupid. But of course he does. And even though Calissa also tells him don't go back there, but Billy's a little bit arrogant actually. He's a bit stubborn, and he has to go back to the house.
That also happened to another person, like his rival for the class president, like wanted to meet up with him, and then he had found out that he died and was trying to tell people, and then he like showed up the next day.
Yeah, I was like,
being alive.
I don't think that was the same thing though, because I think he was always one of them. I don't think you become one of them when you get eaten.
Mm-hmm. So what was he doing though? Was he just like messing with him?
Yeah, I think this was just part of the game, like him seeing him dead, and then the police came out and all the rest of it, and then the next day he shows up as he's in the middle of telling everyone in the assembly hall, like such and such is dead, and then he walks in, and it's kind of this weird "you're crazy" moment. Yeah, I don't think that was the same thing. I think that kid was always one of them.
Oh, okay.
Because he was.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I kind of thought maybe he wasn't at first, and then they did something to him, or
I think he was, and because he was always hanging out with what's his name, Ted Ferguson. Yeah, he was already with him, and they were already like two peas in a pod the entire time. I think this was just a game. I think this was just This was part of the conspiracy. Let's make him crazy kind of thing.
Interesting. All right, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's how I took it anyway. If someone wants to come and argue, then by all means, let yourself out. But I think that'll do it. I think that's Society. You can let us know what you thought of the movie in the comments below. We'll get to some ratings. Timmy, what would you rate this out of 10 body pieces?
I'm going to give it. I'm kind of flirting between like 7.5 or an 8. I think I'll bump it up to an 8 just for the special effects alone at the end. I really like, so it just gives it that little extra nudge.
That's fair. I'm going to go a bit lower. I'm going to go with 6.5. I'm kind of conflicted about how I feel about it after it. There's definitely the things I liked. I liked that it was prosthetics and all that sort of stuff. But there was just a few things. I don't know if I really bought that Clarissa was actually in love with them. I don't know if they actually showed me that happening. It just kind of all of a sudden she cared about him, kind of thing.
It's definitely a rushed romance.
Yeah. So there's a few things like that that just kind of, and the stuff that I've talked about obviously, where I'm just kind of not all in on it. But I think it's worth seeing. I think it's certainly an experience. It's just I can't say it's a classic or that I'd thoroughly recommend it necessarily. So
also, I think you kind of got to admit too, there is something about a movie if it does leave you thinking. Like even if you are conflicted, at least it is leaving you with thoughts. Like it doesn't just you watch it and then it evacuates your mind. Like even if you don't like it, but you're like, well, why don't I like it? Well, this, that, I think that there's something to say about that.
Yeah. Yeah, but still, like, I don't not like it. Wait, no, hold on, let me rephrase that. I don't not like it.
Yeah.
I don't love it either, though. It's kind of weird. Right, anyway, yeah, I've said my piece. There you go. That's Society. Let us know what you thought of the movie in the comments below. If you've seen it, like and subscribe and all that stuff helps us out a lot. Apologies, Tim's internet was a wee bit funny today, so there was a little bit of break up here and there. So hopefully that'll sort itself out for next time. So yeah, give us a like and a subscribe and all that stuff helps us out. We'll be back next time with another horror movie. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you then.